Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. On this episode, I'm glad to be talking about the book Three Hitmen and a Baby and talking with author Rob Hart. Rob, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I was actually familiar with your work from The Warehouse. I knew that book and enjoyed that a few years back very well. So glad to be talking about this book with you and exploring some of your author origins and journey. And usually I start with a question like that. That's kind of an origins question. So, how did you
Sure.
get in this world of the written word?
Because I failed out of art school, or I
Wow.
almost failed out of art school. I was always an artistically inclined kid, and I really liked to draw. And I got into an art conservatory. And when I got there, I was like, "Oh, I actually don't like this. Like, this isn't for me. Like, it just wasn't working." And I was also a big reader when I was a kid, and I was like, well, maybe I can write books, but there's no money in writing books, so let me be a journalist, and I can do journalism, and then do creative writing on the side. Little did I know that there was also no money in journalism. This is back when we actually had robust media organizations. And I did that for a while, and I was pretty happy, and moved over to government for a little while, doing press and communications, and eventually burnt out on that, and then just decided to focus completely on getting a book published. So it's funny. I had a bunch of books come out in a series. It's called the Ash McKenna series, from a small press. And you brought up The Warehouse. The Warehouse was the book that changed my life. That was the one that allowed me to become a full-time writer, which was just the absolute
Mhm.
best.
Nice, nice. So it sounds like that was a journey with a few turns in it. You got to
Yeah,
explore a
yeah,
little bit.
exactly. Yeah, not exactly where I expected to be, but I think it was one of those things where I was always that kid in class who was the best artist. So everyone would be like, "Oh, draw this thing for me," and I'd be like, "Cool, yeah." And I was like, "I'm going to draw comic books one day." And again, once I got into a structured setting and started really diving into it, I realized oh, yeah, this just isn't clicking. And I realized no, I think writing might be the thing for me, because again, I was always a huge reader. I also had a teacher in the seventh grade, Mrs. Knoll, who always really encouraged me with creative writing projects. And it's once I started doing that, that was the thing that clicked. That was the thing that was like, oh yes, here's where I'm supposed to be.
Nice shout out to the creative writing teachers out there.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, this book is full on action. It's quite a bracing story, and I know that you are accomplished in the world of writing action. You also have humor in here, as the title would suggest. There are a couple of different things happening tonally. So, how did you balance all of that out as you were crafting the story?
I wish I had a better answer other than I was just trying to have the most fun I could possibly have. I mean,
Mhm.
I try to like when you're talking about both things like action and humor, those are two things that I really try to take very seriously, in the sense that humor is a way that we could relate to each other. It's a way for us to be vulnerable, to laugh with each other, to open ourselves up emotionally. And violence and action have an impact and a cost. It's and look, I love a good action movie. I love John Wick. Like the John Wick movies, amazing. But what I wanted to do was something a little different, where it was okay, all those henchmen who are getting shot in the head and killed, what does that mean for their families? What is that? They had someone who loved them whose life is now worse because that person is dead. And it was asking those questions that led me to, oh, maybe I should write a series of books about assassins who get into a recovery program for killers. That could be interesting. And
Mhm.
it's really tailored to my sensibilities. So yeah, I just start and just try, as long as I'm keeping myself entertained, I hope the reader will be entertained too.
Nice, nice. Anything we've not given kind of the premise, but anything that you'd like to share about that? We do have sort of assassins in recovery here. We also have a baby involved, which certainly ups the stakes. Anything in addition to that that you'd like to say about the background there?
Yeah, sure. So this is the third book in the series, which, I strongly encourage people to read all entries in the series, but, you don't need to read all of them to understand the story. They all kind of stand on their own. And in this one of the members of the group has a family emergency to contend with, and she's got a toddler and feels a little weird about leaving the toddler with a babysitter, and three of the assassins from her regular meeting say, well, we'll take care of the kid because we're three of the most skilled, deadliest people on the planet. Like, we can handle a kid. And spoiler alert, they cannot handle a kid. It's and it's less, I didn't want it to be like that sort of like comedy of errors kind of thing. It's more just, the kid pops a fever and they go to urgent care, and then they realize, like, oh, like, we all have fabricated identities, and we don't even know this kid's last name because we don't know Valencia's last name. And this is bad. So it turns into like a big mess, where, and then there's the Russian mob gets involved. So it's the NYPD and the Russians. There's a lot going on. But it was, the first two books in the series were a little heavy. They're dealing with some heavy themes, and for this one, I was like, oh, I just want to reward people who stick with the series and just write a romp, like something really, really funny and really silly. And then halfway through, I was like, oh no, we're getting emotional again. So, I'm really excited for people to read this one. It feels like I personally, I feel like I'm growing these characters in a way that's really cool. But ultimately, it will be up for the reader to decide if that's true or not.
You also have a nice full cast of characters here. So back to that question on balance, that's got to be interesting as a writer to get to play with some of those different narrative threads and to get to tell a story across a series, but also to get to explore characters that way too.
Yeah, it's fun because what I really like to do is take these characters and try to like take them in unexpected directions, because we're all very, very unique people. Like everyone has, idiosyncrasies and habits and likes and dislikes that you might not necessarily know from meeting them, initially. And it's finding those things that make us unique. It's really, really cool. It makes me excited. Like when I meet someone, when I find out that like weird fact about them, I'm like, yes, yes. Now I see like the fullness and the roundness of your person. Like, this is so cool. And so being able to do that with characters is really, really fun, where it's like, they're all serving a different purpose for the story, but then to make them feel like they can just walk off the page and into their own story, like that's kind of that's the key, and that's the fun part.
Yeah. Um, any secrets for writing in the crime and action sort of genres here? I'm thinking about like Elmore Leonard's top 10 tips, but any secrets or any ideas that have stuck with you as a writer?
I mean, the that stuff that Elmore Leonard said was real good. Like I teach, and I I quote his rules quite often.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I will say, empathy is just so incredibly important. It's really easy to forget that everyone is kind of going through their own thing and everyone is struggling. And I think we sometimes we can stereotype, we can paint with a very broad brush, and I always try to approach my characters with an understanding of what is their struggle point and what is it that they're looking for, and we can have empathy for people who are struggling. um if you want like a really good technical tip, my favorite tip is to edit your book backwards at least once. I tell that to people all the time, and everyone who's I've told it to and they've done it has thanked me, because helps to see the story out of order. And it's also like it helps infuse a lot of energy into the ending, because I think by a lot of times when you're writing a manuscript or you're even editing it, you get to the end and you're just kind of like, I just want to be done with this. So,
Hmm.
reframing that is good. So that's my like technical toolbox secret of writing. It's just that backwards edit.
Nice, nice. I know that there's already been positive reception around the book. I think I've heard the name Spielberg somewhere. So what does that feel like? What is that like to kind of get this attention on the series and on the
That whole thing was nuts, man. I can't even tell you. It's like, So the book went viral in Hollywood because it's a pretty cool premise. It's like, it's John Wick goes to a recovery program for killers. Like it's like
Mhm.
Hollywood loves an elevator pitch. That's a good elevator pitch. I peaked. I'm never going to do better than that. Um, so it got passed to a few people in Hollywood and then passed to more people and more people and more people, and it turned into a bidding war. And when Amblin came in, I was like, well, I want to have this conversation, obviously. And I was speaking to the exec over there, this lovely woman, Lauren, who ended up buying it. And as we're talking, she's like, and I had a long conversation about this with Steven last night, and he loves it. And I was like, I'm going to stop you right there. It's really hard for me to
Right.
hear that and be cool because come on now. So it's great. It's incredibly gratifying that Steven Spielberg knows about like my goofy little book, and and now it's just mired in the Hollywood process, which is everything. It's like every step forward, there's 10 steps back, and everything takes forever. But I'm happy to be a part of it. It's great. It's warehouses being developed, the Ash McKenna books are being developed, and even if they don't make anything, they pay me optioning fees. So it's like found money at that point. And college is only getting more expensive, and I want to send my daughter to a nice one. So whatever works.
It's nice. Absolutely. Keeping the focus on the family, we like that. And may it be so. May there be many projects to come from your work. I certainly hope so. I would love to see it.
I fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I mean, I don't have a deficit of ideas. I have a deficit of time. That's always what I'm looking for. It's like more time to get to the work that I want to do. But, that's why I'm trying to eat better. Just stick around for as long as I can.
Absolutely. If I'm a listener and I want to find out more, where are some places that I could go to check out your work, to read more about this book, and to see what is happening and what's next?
Sure. My website is robwhart.com. I have a Substack, which if you search for me, you'll find it, Rob Hart. I'm most active on Instagram, where I'm Rob W. Hart 1, because I guess someone got to it before I did. And yeah, those are really the best places to find me. I try to keep up on my newsletter and update people on what's going on, and we'll forget for months at a time, but it's always there. And yeah, this book will be out June 16th, and it'll be available any place books are sold.
Wonderful, wonderful. Fantastic to talk with you. Certainly glad to have you back anytime.